Imagine a nation holding its breath. The Great Depression had squeezed the soul out of America. Factories stood silent. Dust still clung to the memory of the plains. But beneath the despair, something was stirring. I know because I was there. I have walked this land for over 1,400 years, and I have never seen a people so ready to rise from ashes. My name is River Wolf. This is the story of how America became a superpower and how the cracks of the future were already forming. In 1940, the U.S. was on the sidelines of a world at war. President Roosevelt promised no foreign entanglements, but I saw the truth in the factories, assembly lines secretly retooling. I worked at a plant in Detroit, watching sedans become tanks. Then came December 7, 1941. I was on the USS Arizona when the sky rained fire. I swam from that burning tomb, pulling sailors from the oil. That day, the sleeping giant woke. Within weeks, millions enlisted. Women traded aprons for welding masks. My factory hummed with a fury I hadn't felt since the Cahokia Mounds rose. The war wasn't just overseas, it was a forge, melting the old America into something harder, sharper. War and the Bomb, 1942 to 1945. I wore the uniform again. D-Day, 1944. I was on Omaha Beach, an ageless soldier among the young. The water ran red, but we pushed through. Then came the Manhattan Project. I stood in the New Mexico desert, July 16, 1945. When the bomb lit the pre-dawn sky, I felt the earth scream in a language older than mankind. I knew then that humanity had stolen fire from the gods. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, names that still burn. But when Japan surrendered, the world exhaled. America emerged as a giant, its industries untouched, its rivals in ruins. The wealthy? Men like Henry Kaiser, the shipbuilder, and Howard Hughes, the eccentric genius. The government grew. The GI Bill sent millions to college, and the middle class was born. Cold Dawn, 1945 to 1950. Peace felt fragile. I watched the Iron Curtain fall across Europe. The Soviets, our former allies, became our shadow enemy. President Truman stood firm. The Trumanatron, the Marshall Plan, the Berlin Airlift. I flew supplies into Tempelhof, watching children wave from rubble. NATO was born, and I felt the world divide like a cracked plate. At home, fear grew. The Red Scare crept in. I saw neighbors accuse neighbors. Joe McCarthy waved his lists, and I felt the old witch hunt madness of Salem return. But America also dreamed. The television arrived. In 1947, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in baseball, and I saw the first genuine crack in the wall of segregation. The Korean War broke out in 1950. I was shipped to frozen hills, fighting a war that ended only in stalemate. But I came back to a nation on the move. The 50s. I bought a house in Levittown. Rows of identical homes, green lawns, and the hum of washing machines. The interstate highways carved through the land. Cars grew fins like rockets. I watched I Love Lucy with my neighbors, laughing at the same jokes. The population exploded, approaching 160 million. The wealthy were the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, old money building new empires. But beneath the shiny surface, rebellion stirred. Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat in Montgomery, 1955. I was in the crowd when Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of a dream not yet realized. The Supreme Court ended school segregation. The South fought back. I felt the ground shifting. Technology sprinted ahead. The transistor replaced the vacuum tube, smaller than my thumb, yet it birthed the modern world. Computers the size of rooms began to hum. In 1957, Sputnik beeped overhead. I stood in my backyard and watched that tiny dot cross the stars. America panicked. The government poured billions into science. NASA was born. The space race began. Meanwhile, I witnessed the rise of teen culture. Rock and roll, Elvis's gyrating hips, and James Dean's rebellious glare. But the Cold War shadow grew darker. I helped build fallout shelters. School children practiced duck and cover drills. The threat of nuclear annihilation was a constant, quiet hum beneath every Sunday dinner. Who were the wealthy in this age? The Fords, the Rockefellers, but also new titans. Sam Walton opened his first Walmart in 1962. Ray Kroc bought a small burger joint called McDonald's. I saw the rise of a consumer culture that sold happiness in a box. Yet I also saw the other America, poor, rural, black, and native, left behind. I walked the Mississippi Delta, where poverty gripped like cold iron. The Indian termination policy tried to erase my people's identity. I never forgot my Cahokia blood. The government was big, complex. Eisenhower warned of the military-industrial complex as he left office, words I knew would echo through time. The torch passes. 1960. John F. Kennedy, young, Catholic, a new kind of leader. I watched the televised debates against Nixon, the calm, charm, the vision. He won by a whisper. His inaugural speech, "Ask not what your country can do for you," sent a shiver through my immortal spine. I knew that hope is the most fragile and powerful force in history. But I also knew that in the Texas sunshine, a shadow was waiting. The 60s would bring glory and tragedy in equal measure. The suburban dream was about to face its reckoning. And so, as 1960 faded, I stood at the edge of a decade that would tear America apart and rebuild it again. Vietnam, civil rights, the moon landing, assassinations, all were coming like thunder after lightning. I am River Wolf, an immortal witness to the American century. In the next episode, we will dive into the chaos of the 1960s and 70s, the dream and the nightmare. If you're hungry for more, subscribe to Pastplex, hit that bell, and journey with me through the centuries. The story is just beginning.